Ruturaj Gaikwad managed to score 100 for India during the South Africa ODI series, which of course the Indians had won 2-1. Yet despite that, found himself not only out of the 11 but also out of the squad for the 3-game New Zealand ODI series. Now, obviously, there is a case to be made that, look, Shreyas Iyer, the person who he was deputizing for, is back in full fitness, and therefore perhaps a Gaikwad wasn't really needed in the 11. But the fact that he could just be dropped from the squad is seen as shocking, even keeping in mind that India have an insane amount of talent just waiting for an opportunity, and the depth is so good that even top domestic performers like Devdutt Padikkal, who was averaging over 80 in list A cricket, are nowhere close to getting an ODI call-up. However, it has left a certain Robin Uthappa very shocked. In fact, that's exactly what he had to say about Gaikwad's exclusion. And he further on also talked about how tough it must be for him to actually come back and get, reset his mindset, because it would be very, very tough. This is what he had to say. He said that you have to make it make sense, right? It takes a toll, and you need to almost find silver linings to lean back on. And it's easy to understand why it is that Uthappa said what he said, because again, with Gaikwad, his ODI career and in fact his India career as a whole has been almost start-stop. When there have been injury issues or there's been openings, he's gotten a call-up, but either he's gotten injured or maybe had one or two poor performances that have counted against him. There's no denying the fact that Gaikwad's a very talented batter, very aesthetically pleasing, easy on the eye, passes the eye test, but where exactly do you fit him into your 11? Perhaps what Robin was saying was that maybe he shouldn't have been dropped from the squad, and that's what perhaps prompts him to say something further in this particular video which he had posted on his own YouTube channel. He also said that one of the challenges of Indian cricket is that you're completely constantly in survival mode. To switch from that takes resilience, self-talk and positive reinforcement. So these is basically in some ways advice to Gaikwad, where he's saying that, look, it can be very tough because you're constantly in survival mode, constantly having to prove yourself, and to actually switch out from that mode will take resilience, self-talk and positive reinforcement. But perhaps the most surprising thing that he had to say came later on, where he said that perhaps batters or cricketers from certain states have to work a lot harder to maintain their spot in the playing 11 instead of players from certain bigger states. This is what he had to say. He said that you have to keep fighting, especially if you don't come from one of the 3 big states in India, Mumbai, Delhi or Punjab. Now, aside from the fact that Delhi and Mumbai are technically cities and not states, what Uthappa is basically trying to say is that if you don't come from one of these state teams, it can be a little tough for you to get a longer rope. At least that's what he's implying. Is that necessarily true? Perhaps not. You do have a veritable mix of players in the lineup who aren't necessarily from these states. In fact, even Mumbai can perhaps argue that there's a few players who are deserving of India call-ups who just aren't getting them right now because, quite frankly, there's no space in any of the squads. So do I agree with this particular sentiment? Not entirely. I do think Gaikwad's in the radar, but like a lot of other talented batters, will just have to wait for his chance, because you only got 15 slots for big tournaments and on average even home series or even away series, and it can be frustrating to miss out, but there's only a limited number of slots and the talent pool is quite frankly immense. So it can be tough, but as he says, he needs to just knuckle down, try and find silver linings, do some positive reinforcement and keep grinding it out in the domestic circuit. And of course, if he can have a good IPL, that'll be an absolute bonus. But do you agree with Uthappa's assessment on Gaikwad getting dropped? Let us know so in the comments below, and don't forget as always to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, X and Facebook, and stay tuned for more such updates from the world of sport.